Hey, hey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to RassleRecap. My name is still Justin Tate.
I guess my name's still Michelle Tate.
Technically, yeah. We are the only brother-sister duo that takes you on the journey of wrestling pay-per-view by pay-per-view throughout the decades.
We have a real great time doing it, but this is the weirdest episode we've ever done.
Yeah. Real great might be taking a break for a week, and we're just going to fall into, I don't know. You decide.
Let's just get in the time machine and then we'll talk about it. How about that?
Yeah. Let's just do that. Do that.
We're in.
I feel like I'm in a movie theater in 1989 going, boy, do they offer refunds?
Hey, what movie theater candy are you getting or snack?
Gummy bears all day long.
Oh, excellent. Well, I was like 20 years old before I realized that Texas is the only place that has pickles at a movie theater because I went to a Colorado movie theater and they had no pickles. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And
it's a crime.
Yeah, so that's my preferred. I actually like to get, because I'm nasty, I like to get the popcorn, the pickles, and the nacho cheese and mix them all together.
That is called vomit.
What are you talking about? That sounds like
no, don't get me wrong. I would eat it. I would eat it all day long with a spoon. And I might even throw some mustard in there. But just visually, that does not sound appetizing.
It's really good if you do hot Cheetos instead of popcorn as well.
Now you're talking. Let's get into this show. Yes, that's right, friends. We are talking about WWF No Holds Barred, the match, the movie. Now, this aired on pay-per-view on December 27th, 1989 from the Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. I believe we've seen at least one pay-per-view come from there before. Our commentators are Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura, which is interesting. And the number one song on this day, December 27th, 1989. Go ahead and play it. Think twice, 'cause it's another day for you and me. Oh, man. Oh, Phil Collins, he might be my favorite 80s singer, actually.
Justin, I swear this song has been the song of the week before.
It was a re-release.
I don't know if Phil Collins songs just sound really similar to me, but I was listening, so I was like, this had to be. But anytime I'm like driving down the road and I'm on like the 80s station and I hear a song, I'll be like, that was the song of the week every time because they're like ingrained in me now.
Yeah, no, Phil Collins does have a signature sound, but it makes me feel like a kid every time, so I love it.
Makes me feel like I'm in Albertsons once again. Yep. Well, let's get into the background of this very interesting pay-per-view.
Yes.
So the original pay-per-view airing showed the entire No Holds Barred movie, followed by the big cage match at the end. And the match was actually taped ahead of time at a taping of WWF Wrestling Challenge. And so that's kind of what I was wondering, like in the very beginning. I was like, did they just sell tickets and get everyone to a one match pay-per-view?
Right. And what they would do for like Wrestling Challenge and Superstars is they would tape like weeks of episodes all in one taping. And so fans would be there for like hours. And of course the show was only like an hour long, but they would see all these matches just throughout the afternoon and the evening. And so I guess they just sold this one as, hey, and at this one, you get Hulk Hogan.
See, and I also wondered, did they like roll a screen down and everyone in the arena watched the movie and then the match? So I was very curious to see how this worked. But yeah, there were several matches that also took place at that same taping, but obviously they were never aired. So it was Dusty Rhodes defeated Big Boss Man. Ultimate Warrior defeated Dino Bravo to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously he's going to retain because why would they change titles if it's not ever going to be seen by anybody other than the people there? The Colossal Connection, who is Andre the Giant and Haku, they defeated Demolition via countout. And then lastly, we had Mr. Perfect defeating Ronnie Garvin, the drag queen.
former
drag queen. But before we
Yes,
go any further, we need some
Wrestle stats.
bam.
Wrestle stats.
Wrestle
Oh
stats.
yeah. Well, there's only 4 wrestlers on this pay-per-view. Once we actually get to the actual cage match, the average age of them, 34 years old. The youngest is Zeus at the age of 31. The oldest, Randy Savage, at the age of 37. And nothing really else changed with the ages and everything in the Wrestle stats. So let's just get to a number that's actually the exact same as it was last week, because all 4 of these guys were on the last WWF pay-per-view we watched. Out of the 117 wrestlers, the 206 wrestlers that we've watched on RassleRecap, 117 of them are still alive, percentage of 56.8%.
We're still dancing. I don't care if nothing changed.
Yeah, and this is not the final appearance in a match for anybody on this show. So without any further ado, let's get to the first half of this pay-per-view, No Holds Barred, the movie. Now, if you have never seen No Holds Barred, the movie,
you're lucky.
I was actually going to rewatch it this week because it's been a while. And then real life happened and I went, you know what? I don't need that in my life right now. So I'm going off of when I've watched it before. Michelle watched it for the first time this week. And how would you sum up this plot?
Yeah, so if you want to watch it, it is on Tubi for free. Tubi's completely free. You don't even have to sign up for an account. So it's very easy to watch. Man, like how much time, like, do I need to do this in like 30 seconds or what?
Give it 30 seconds. In fact, I'll start a timer.
Oh, hell. You got to show me the time. But see, so I do this on my other podcast, Boo You Horror. We review horror movies and we have a 60-second recap. And that's always stressful because my co-host Mark is terrible at it. But
okay, I've got a 30-second timer and you sum up the plot starting right now.
Okay, so Hulk Hogan is in WWF, but his name's not Hulk. His name is Rip. And then there's this TV producer who's like, I want Hulk Hogan on my network. So get him over here. I'm going to give him some money. But Hulk Hogan turns him down. So he's like, I'm going to make this new show about tough guys. And we're going to film it and cast it from a bar. And Zeus shows up and he's super tough. And all he says is, rah! He doesn't actually talk. And then the producer like sends this woman to seduce him, but she actually falls in love with Hulk Hogan, which makes no sense because he has no personality. And then at the end, they end up fighting and Hulk Hogan wins.
Okay.
There you go.
Good. I like it. Was this the movie that had like a scene where she like walked into his hotel room or something and he was doing push-ups?
They were sharing a bed because they didn't have 2 beds or separate rooms. And so they put like a curtain between the bed and she heard him like grunting and you think it's going to be something dirty. Then she looks and he's doing push-ups. He's like, what? Go to get my workout in.
Yeah. God. All right. Well, let's get into it. Hulk Hogan has said that he and Vince McMahon locked themselves in a hotel room and wrote the script for this movie within a day. Of course, it's Hulk Hogan saying that, and somebody else has the writing credit. So again, who knows?
Honestly, I believe that they wrote it in a day because it was horrible. Hulk Hogan is an absolute terrible actor. Like, I really thought as a wrestler, he would be a little better than that. Especially just like when he has the scenes with the lady, like there's nothing charming about him. There's no reason this woman would like fall for him, but it's absolutely hilarious because, he shows up to this business meeting with the network guy and he's like in his full on ring gear, including his boots. Like, I'm like, why would a wrestler be in their wrestling boots to go to this meeting? But
so question, you are the Three Ninjas aficionado.
Yeah.
Was Hulk Hogan not in Three Ninjas, like High Noon at Mega Mountain or one of those?
I think he was. I was not a High Noon Mega Mountain person. I probably need to see it. I've never seen it. I just didn't have any interest because like the Rocky Tum Tum Colt, they weren't there. And maybe they were there. They were just recast. I don't know. But I will watch that. I do remember though, on when I would put in the VHS for Three Ninjas, there was a movie with Hulk Hogan, and I think he was like a babysitter or a nanny or something.
Mr. Nanny, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was one of the previews before.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I remember also there was a movie he did called Suburban Commando in like 1991. It almost seemed like a Terminator ripoff in a way.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now that you said Terminator. But that nanny movie, didn't The Rock like basically remake that movie later? Like it's the same plot?
Probably. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
Who can tell one Dwayne Johnson movie from another at this point? But
I sure can.
This movie actually opened, believe it or not, at number 2 in the country. Number 2, beaten only by Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. In the end, Vince McMahon, who financed the movie, basically broke even.
I mean, good for him for breaking even, because I didn't think that would happen. I have so many thoughts about this.
But it shows like how hot Hulkamania was at the time, because I mean, nobody had any right to think that this movie was going to be any good, but Hulk Hogan was in it. So yay, we're going to go.
Right. Well, so he has a little brother. I forgot to mention that in the plot, because there's no reason for him to really have a little brother other than Zeus like beats the hell out of him and he ends up in the hospital. And so Hulk Hogan's like, I gotta go fight for his honor. But his name was Randy, which I thought was funny because of like Randy Savage. But he's played by Mark Pellegrino. And so when I saw him,
my favorite kind of sparkling water.
I know. I was thinking, I was like, isn't that like the rich people water? But when I saw him come on screen, I actually pushed pause and took a picture and I sent it to you because I was like, who is this? Because I was like, he looks really familiar, but he's like the young version. And I was thinking it was a wrestler. And you were like, I don't know who that is. So I looked him up and then it just clicked in me. He's not a wrestler, but he is an actor and he's done a lot of stuff that I've seen. So he played Lucifer in Supernatural. That's the first thing I knew him from. And then he was also Paul, aka Rita's abusive husband in Dexter. And he's done a lot of other things. And so he just looks so young that it didn't click with me right away.
Yeah, I wonder if whenever he like meets with like casting agents and stuff, he's like, oh yeah, I did Supernatural and I was in Dexter and then I was in
Honestly, I'd be like, I will pay you IMDb $10 to take that off of my credits. And I mean, he really was the best actor out of the whole thing. But the guy who played the network producer, I forget his name, but he is that guy who is literally in everything, but you don't know his name.
Are you talking about Kurt Fuller? He played Russell in Wayne's World because he's in this movie.
Is he like an older guy, like kind of goofy?
He's like balding.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know his name, but he's in everything.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Well, the first time we see Zeus, it's at this bar. And again, he doesn't talk like the whole movie. I think he has maybe one line, but he's just like, the whole time. And he walks into the bar and he picks up a female waitress by the throat and just throws her about 20 feet. And I was like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah. It almost felt like you were watching an NWA pay-per-view from the early 80s. Just like, we'll throw her around. She's fine.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Is it any wonder that this movie currently has a 10% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes? Are you surprised by that?
Good for them. Good for them.
That 10% is like Hulk Hogan and his wife.
Exactly. And I think it's so weird. They didn't call him Hulk Hogan. His name was like Rip
Morgan or something like that, wasn't it?
It was like Rip. And they were like, yeah, Rip. And I'm like, you're doing a Hulkamania movie and he's not even going to be Hulk? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. But I did have a question, and I might be stretching, but is this movie kind of like the whole thing like a dig at WCW?
In what way?
Like the network really, really wanting him. And so they're going to offer him up and he's going to say no. And so they have to find a star that's equal and stuff.
It could be. It feels more like it was just like Vince and Hulk wanting to just capitalize and make, because Vince always wanted to be in bigger entertainment than wrestling, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, they had WWE studios for a while and they had a record label that they only released like their own theme music on. And so it's like, it just feels like it was him trying to get into that whole world and less into the wrestling world. And he felt like Hulk Hogan was like his only vehicle there.
Ah, okay. Well, there was something that didn't make sense.
Oh, just something? Or
Okay, one particular moment that didn't make sense. So,
okay.
Brell, that's the network producer guy, he hands Hulk Hogan this big check, like being like, hey, this is your money. Come work for me. And Hogan, like, he's trying to be menacing. And he says, I won't be around when this check clears. And I'm like, what? Are you going to off yourself? Like, shouldn't the producer guy not be around when the check clears? And like, also, like, you're not going to clear the check because you're not going to work for him. Like, maybe that's like the accounting person in me, but I'm like, that didn't make sense to me.
That sounds like it was written in a day in a hotel room. Plus, like, Hogan was probably, I mean, his character was probably based off of him just going, I got to go change the booking on this thing so I can pose at the end.
Yup. So I laughed 2 times in this movie, genuinely.
2 times. Wow. That's twice as much as most people, but go ahead.
So, and I really think it was more, I was laughing at the movie, not with the movie.
Right.
Because it was just ridiculous. So the first time, basically Hulk Hogan's turned down the producer guy and he's leaving. So the producer sent his goons to attack Hulk Hogan. And he gets in a limo and then they're coming out at the limo. And then he like broke through, like shot through, launched through the roof of the limo and like landed on top and was like, ah. It was so stupid. Like the metal bins, the glass goes everywhere.
Yeah. It's almost like that was like the prototype for the thing they used to use for Rey Mysterio's entrance later on, where you shoot straight up. Like stick it in a limo, see if it works.
I know. So that was one of the times I laughed. And then the second time was it's around the same time in the movie. When the random dude gets attacked by Hulk and you see like a dark spot on his pants and Hogan says, what's that smell? And the dude replies, Dookie. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I feel like that was the line that they thought really gonna catch on, like the moment.
Well, yeah, because it's known that Vince likes fart humor and poop humor. So
he likes that other stuff with poop too, apparently.
Well, that's true. So that had to come from him. But and it also just speaks to like what kids found funny back then. Like, I don't know if kids now think that, Dookie is like funny or anything like that. But back then, I could totally see being a kid and seeing that part and going, yeah, he pooped himself.
To answer your question, they do think it's funny because the other day I was with our 4-year-old niece and she was eating chocolate cake and I said, you have chocolate over your mouth. She said, it's poop. And so they do think it's funny.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Well, like you kind of mentioned earlier, there's a lot of appearances by WWF wrestlers at the time. Bill Eadie is in this movie. We know him better as Axe from Demolition. Stan Hansen, Gene Okerlund, Jesse Ventura, Howard Finkel, and referee Joey Morella. And I've heard, I don't know if you can see him or not, that the man that would later be known as Buff Bagwell was like an extra in this movie.
Yeah, I was really like paying attention to all the extras and stuff. Like every single person, like, who's that? Who's that? But yeah, they actually introduce on commentary because like they opened the movie with like Hulk Hogan's wrestling at WWF, and they're like, and on commentary, there's Mean Gene and Jesse Ventura, but like, why no Gorilla?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, I don't know why they would do that. Another cameo I remember in his movie Suburban Commando, The Undertaker was in that movie, and he was one of the bad guys, but like he didn't talk the whole movie, and at the very end, you finally hear him talk. And they like modulated his voice, so it's like very high pitched. And he's like, "We're gonna terminate you, Ramsey." It's really funny and really off-putting and kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, my last question is Hogan says, and I don't even remember what the situation was because I didn't put it in my notes, but quote, "Your brother is yellow and I'm going to kill him." What does that mean?
I'm guessing that he is referring to like a yellow streak up their back, like they're a coward. I will hope that's what he was talking about and not some of the unfortunate things he's famous for off screen. But after all that, the movie ends in 93 minutes. And it should have ended in about 5 seconds via submission, because I will tap out if I ever have to watch this movie ever again in my life.
Thankfully, it was short. It was only 93 minutes, and that's like with the credits and everything. So it is a short watch. However, I probably certainly will never watch it again.
Yeah. I think there's a reason that it is on a free streaming service.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wasn't about to pay for that. I would definitely be like, Amazon, this movie's terrible if I had to rent this for $3.99. Well, let's talk about the match, the pay-per-view itself. So it's No Holds Barred, the match. No Holds Barred Steel Cage Tag Team match. So I'll get to this in a second. Let me just introduce who's here. So we've got Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan on one side versus Randy Savage and Zeus with Sensational Sherry. So all these guys were last seen on Survivor Series 1989, and they're all in their 30s. Let's just go ahead. Let's get into it, and I'll yeah.
Sure. So if you want to watch this, you can't go to Peacock. I believe it was hidden somewhere on the original WWE network, but just like you can't find the movie on one of the main streaming services, we had to resort to Daily Motion to find this match. It's introduced by Sean Mooney in the video we watched. So this version was probably ripped from like some compilation video that they put out at some time. And boy, let me tell you, that hair helmet on Sean Mooney,
Ooh.
like he could have taken a baseball to the head and not felt it until next week.
He needs Brutus Beefcake and his shears to come out and thin that out a little bit.
Right. That thing looked like he could nail a board into it. But I was so happy. A kid in the front row has an Intercontinental belt, one of those foam Intercontinental belts. And like, I remember seeing those in a catalog when I was a kid. It might have even been the WWF catalog. And they also had the heavyweight and the tag team belts. And I wanted them so bad. Still kind of do. Just saying.
I bet you could find some on like eBay or something.
Oh, probably.
Why didn't you have them? Because I feel like, I mean,
I had a plastic version where like the gold part was actually like huge stickers on the front.
I remember that. Yeah.
But like they didn't make the Intercontinental or the tag team versions of that. So I saw those and was like, oh my God, I have to have them.
So when I read this, and I'm outing myself here since you've outed me in the past, I thought you had a foam Bret Hart belt, but maybe it was just like a finger or like a hand, and it was black foam with pink writing.
Yeah. It was the foam finger. I think I bought that at the Royal Rumble.
Okay, I think I took a bite out of that as a kid too.
You probably did. You were a hungry child.
I was so hungry. We were poor. Okay. So yeah, my first thought on this match is, wait, what? Why is this a tag match? Because naturally, I would think it was Hogan versus Zeus, and not like why the hell were Brutus and Savage added? Like they weren't in the movie.
The only thing I can guess is that Zeus wasn't a wrestler. Zeus was an actor. And so to get him through a singles match like that would be a lot of trouble. So you have to give him somebody who can help him. Randy Savage. Well, it can't be 2-on-1, so let's throw Brutus in there.
I mean, fine. But I just thought it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was kind of, I don't know, the whole way they built this up. It's like they knew ahead of time with all the attacks on TV and everything that they were going to have to do this. But
yeah.
So when Hogan and Beefcake, they make their entrance, they come down to the ring. Hogan hands the referee the chain and the padlock and the key to the cage. What the hell is that? Like, why does Hogan get to supply his own lock and chain? I mean, if he were a heel, Hogan is a heel.
He sure is. He sure is, Justin. But that's the first of many. What the hell is that?
Yeah. So Brutus gets in the cage first, right? The heels are already in there. Brutus gets in the cage. Then Sensational Sherry slams the door on Hogan's head, causing Hogan to fall to the ground before Sherry locks him out of the steel cage. But then they ring the bell to start the match. Why? Like the referee saw what happened. It happened right next to him. Why would he see that and then be like, okay, sorry, Hogan, ring the bell?
The only thing I think of is it's no holds barred. We have to get the toughest guy. And so too bad for you. We're starting the match. But
Ugh.
it was actually really stupid because Sherry, like, she like slams his head or whatever and like shoves him away. And she waits like a good 2 minutes before she actually locks that cage door. And so, like, are we, the dumb audience, supposed to assume that one, like, sensational Sherry is stronger than Hogan and will be able to hold him off and like being able to like shove him out of the way? And then also, like, Hogan could have just gotten up and opened the door again. Like, she took forever to lock it.
Yeah, and we know he's strong enough. He was doing push-ups in his underwear in the movie we just watched.
That was such an uncomfortable scene. It really was.
Isn't he like in his underwear or in his trunks or something when that happens?
Yeah,
too?
and like,
Yeah.
here's what's really, I didn't want to go here, but I'm gonna go here, okay? So that curtain is up in the middle, and I'm like, this girl works for a very wealthy network. I know they're trying to get her to seduce him, which is so not okay, but she would have gone down to the lobby and been like, I need my own room now, and if I don't get it, I'm going to a different hotel. But
Yeah, like why do they have to share a room in the first place?
and a bed. But anyway, so you hear him like breathing hard and like, ooh, ooh. And so you think it's dirty. And then he's doing push-ups. But, oh, God.
Well, after Hogan recovers from being hit in the head with the door, he climbs up the cage to get into the match. But again, the referee saw what just happened. So wouldn't he have just let Hogan in through the door? Like, Hebner, come on. This is almost as bad as the screw job. Let's go.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I don't know. I feel like this match, this movie, everything just had Vince all over it. And you know, Vince does a lot of things that make no sense.
Yeah, well, it turns out that both team members have to escape the cage in order to win the match. But we don't know about that until about halfway through, which seems like a great time to tell us the rules of this big blow-off match.
Yeah.
As we'll see later, that's not quite the rules either.
Yeah, like I didn't even when I heard that like halfway through the match, I was like, wait, how did I miss that? And then it kind of just felt like maybe they just, added it on commentary, and then they were like, tell them in the ring.
Right. So we might have talked about this on a very early episode of Wrestle Recap when there was a cage match. Do we like the escape rule where you can win by escaping the cage?
I think I do, depending on the participants in the match. It has to be well done. I like it because it's a very visual way to win. And it's a very black and white way to win. So I do like that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with you that it is a visual way to win, and it can be exciting. It creates moments at times that you won't forget. At the same time, I just go, just lock them in the cage and nobody can get in, nobody can get out. Isn't that enough?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like Money in the Bank though, because it's the same thing. You have to climb up to get something, and like that is the quantifiable win.
Yeah.
And when they get close, like, oh, it's so cool when they get really close. Is he gonna make it? So yeah, I don't know. I think it just depends. That's the answer on do we like the escape rule?
Okay.
Well, I just like the part where Sherry had climbed up to the top of the cage and Brutus like slammed Sherry and Savage's heads together, and it caused her to like fall from the top. Like, she needs some credit here.
It would be really funny if like Randy's head came away from hers and it was like sticking straight up because all of her hairspray like transferred over to Randy. That's what I want to see. That'd be great. So Sherry, she later in the match unlocks the cage, right? And then rams the cage door into the referee's head.
Yeah.
And Vince asks on commentary, do you think she did that intentionally? Vince.
I mean, yeah, but this is the guy who had Hogan busting through a roof of a car and then scaring a guy into saying Dookie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Thank you for the reminder of that cinematic moment that we will all know and cherish for the rest of history. So Beefcake, he escapes the cage. He crawls over the top. Savage crawls out through the door and they brawl for a quick second before Brutus gets back in the cage.
No. He starts to, but Hogan doesn't want his help. He tells him to stay out because obviously this has to be his moment and his moment alone.
God. Okay. So we talked about how you both have to escape for your team to win the match. So here's the finish, everybody. And it's just about as dumb as the movie. Hogan slams Zeus. He hits 3 leg drops on him. Bang, bang, bang. And then the referee comes in to count the 1, 2, 3. But if the cage door hadn't been opened by Sherry earlier, would the referee have had to unlock the door, climb into the cage, climb through the ropes, and then count the 3?
And weren't they supposed to escape to win?
Yes.
That's like my biggest thing. I was like, wait, I didn't know pins were allowed.
Well, I don't know that anybody did.
I mean, Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan won that thing in 9 minutes and 27 seconds, but I don't know if they even won because no one climbed out.
Do you understand that I had to watch this on Daily Motion, which means that I got countless viruses probably on my computer just from going to that website. My computer has hepatitis A through Z now. And no, this was not worth it. This was not worth it. So why don't you just give your final thoughts on this entire thing?
The whole thing was Dookie. It was a fun little, the only positive thing I have to say is for you and me and our podcast, it was a fun little mix up. It's out of the norm. It's something different, but that movie was awful. And I'm like, at least like these WWE and like these actors now can actually act like Mercedes Moné and the Mandalorian, and like even The Rock is better, but like I don't understand, because as a wrestler, you have to have a level of like performance quality and charisma. And it's like trying to be a normal guy is impossible for him. And so he was just so bad. I expected more.
I almost wonder if it's like, he's obviously playing Hulk Hogan, right?
Mhm.
And so that character translates well to a live audience full of thousands of screaming fans who want to see the bad guy get up in the ring right before their eyes. But when you put that on a screen with no crowd, it's almost like when you watch clips of a sitcom and they've taken out the laugh track and you realize, oh, this really isn't funny at all.
Friends. Like Friends.
Yeah, that's the main culprit. Yes.
Justin and I hate Friends. Don't hate us for that, but our sister
the match, I mean, it had so many logic flaws. There's a phrase that people use to talk about some matches now that I try to avoid using because I don't feel like I have the right to. Overproduced. And this just felt like it was way too much trying to happen. You could have just had a tag team cage match and that's it.
Well, also, I think you didn't even need a match to go with the movie because the match didn't match the movie, if that makes any sense. Like, I mean, if you have an actor that can't wrestle, don't have them have a match. Don't advertise that, because it's just very silly and confusing. Or give give them a tag partner, give them partners in the movie. Like, it was just so silly to have them one-on-one in the movie. It's a big rivalry, and then you throw in Brutus and Randy Savage. It's just strange.
Yeah, well, let's get out of this. Let's talk about what happened after this pay-per-view. This was the final appearance of Zeus in the WWF. This is it for him. But we will see him again one day.
In Friday?
That too. Randy Savage, he continued to chase after Hulk Hogan's WWF championship, of course, and they would actually finally have one more match for the title the following February. But during that time, before that match happened, a new challenger to Hogan's championship would arise.
Who is it?
It is actually Mr. Dookie himself. He comes back and he's changed pants. And he's like, this time I'm not gonna Dookie.
Well, let's just talk about some more little
Wrestle sets.
Some
Okay.
stats.
Okay. Some wrestle stats. Yeah. Let's do that and get out of here. So the most matches out of all the pay-per-views we've watched, well, that one ticked up this time because Randy Savage holds on to his crown. He's now had 18 matches on pay-per-views that we've watched. Rematches. We've actually seen this match before. I believe we saw it at SummerSlam. It wasn't a cage match, but we did see these two teams go off against each other. So now, out of the 229 matches that we've watched on RassleRecap, 13 of them have been rematches. And this wasn't a title match, so title match percentage went down. Only 74 title matches out of the 229 that we've watched. That's 32.31%. And there's more stats like that for current wrestling. You just go on Twitter, on Threads, on Blue Sky to Rassle's Stats. And that's where you can find all your favorite stats for all your favorite shows on WWE, AEW, TNA, and ROH at Rassle Stats on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Threads. You know who else happens to know how to use the internet and communicate with people? That's Michelle.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's Natalia because she retweeted you this week.
She did. She did. That was very nice of her.
Yes, we love when wrestlers engage with Rassle Stats. And like, it's always fun because they're like, oh, hell yeah. And they're going to like use that as leverage. Be like, did you know that I had the most matches in 2020? Yeah.
Julius Creed is really using his main event stats from last year to move on up.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, you can reach out to me at Michelle Tater or talk to us on RassleRecap. We're on Twitter. I try to get on Blue Sky. I kind of forget about it. I'm mainly a Twitter person, but yeah, reach out to us there. You can talk to me or Justin there, or if you want to talk about anything. College football's over. My life is so boring right now, but I still talk about it. So
if you want to do some baseball talk, let's talk some baseball.
Yeah, you can talk baseball with Justin all day long. Baseball to me has so many games that I can't keep. It overwhelms me. I can't keep up. And so,
now, I'm not saying I'm a baseball expert, but I have learned to love baseball because my wife grew up loving baseball and she has ignited that fire in me. So I can't say that I'll have a lot to say, but I'll have something to say.
I am a football expert. I will say that.
I can at least put something in a chat GPT to answer you. So
perfect. Okay. Well, what do we have next week? Please tell me it is not the sequel.
This is a monumental moment in RassleRecap history.
That's right.
Because we started this show covering a pay-per-view from 1983. And we have hit pay-per-views in 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, and 89. Now we're moving into the 90s. And I could not be more excited because that's when I became a fan in 91. So we got to start with 1990. And what better way to start it next week than with the WWF Royal Rumble 1990?
And really, the best part about 1990 is I joined the world.
Yeah, it was all right.
Rude.